Implausible Nature now has dice. That's right, you can get these awesome D6s made by our partner, Baron of Dice. These custom dice have the Implausible Nature logo on the six side and also come with square corners, which means they will roll more evenly than rounded corner dice. Head on over to baronofdice.com and use discount code IN40K to get a discount on your order and support us at the same time. Check out his full collection of dice for all your gaming needs with the link down in the description.
Welcome to Implausible Nature, your home for all things Black Templar. And it is finally here. Merry Grotmas, everyone. We have our detachment, and we are going to cover that for you today. So just to be clear, Bob and I have not read this. This is 7 a.m. local time for me. It is 6 a.m. Local time for Bob. So a big grateful thank you for Bob for getting up super early for this so that we could record this video and get it to you guys as soon as humanly possible. You can thank us by giving us a like and subscribing as well. So this is going to be our true first impressions. I know it's on the screen right here. I have not read it other than I can see the giant text of the actual name. So let's dive right into this and read through this detachment. We're going to give you our essentially live, unedited first impressions. We will do a full deep dive into this detachment later, but we wanted to, give you guys our thoughts as it initially came out. So let's go. So the Black Templar's new detachment is called Wrathful Procession. Let's get into the detachment rule, which is called Zealous Litanies. I can already tell this is going to be about chaplains, so that's exciting. At the start of the battle round, if you can select one of the litanies listed below. If you do, until the end of the battle round, that litany is active and active, and its effects apply to all Adeptus Astartes infantry and all Adeptus Astartes mounted units from your army. So before we even get into the litanies, I love that they did not tie this to chaplains, to like a chaplain leading a squad. It's just the entire army's infantry and the entire army's mounted. Not that mounted is super great, but it's nice that we get that. So really excited that it's about chaplains, obviously. Litanies are chaplain things, but it is not specifically tied to having a chaplain attached to that unit. So that's awesome. Love that. All right, so these are the three litanies. Chorus of Relentless Hate. Yes, relentless hate. Add 2 inches to the move characteristic of models in this unit and add 1 to advance rolls made for it. All right, I like that. Right of I'm not even trying to pronounce that word. Perfervid wrath. The Right of Wrath. I'm just going to call it the Right of Wrath. Add 1 to the strength characteristics of melee weapons equipped by models in that unit. And Chant of Deathless Devotion. Models in this unit have a 5-up invulnerable save against ranged attacks. All right, those are all good. Bob, what are your thoughts on the detachment rule?
Well, first initial thoughts are yes, it's nice that we don't have to have it tied to the chaplains. It's very similar to Gladius, and we're picking something before the game starts there.
Yep.
It's a little unfortunate that it doesn't affect vehicles. So we're going to have to play around with our infantry a little bit to make sure that is applicable to as many units as possible in our list.
Yep.
But yeah, they're all useful. Course of Relentless Hate.
You can change it every battle round, which is great.
So it looks like 2-inch move. That's always going to be useful. Very strong. Make sure that we're going to be where we need to. I'm not sure if there's going to be an advance in charge, but if there is, that would be very, very powerful with this. But in a 2-inch additional move will make things like chaplain-led Terminators quickly moving across the board. It'll also give like their if you're in the right of wrath, let's skip that.
The right of
They'll go
right.
into a break point where more important break points, strength 9, getting into those vehicle damage modes. Um, I think the 5 up invulnerable save might not be as used, depending on if you're going first or second. And then,
It's very useful on Crusader squads because neophytes have that 4 up regular save. This means that anything that's more than AP2, they just don't care. Just shrug those on that 5 up invul for those neophytes. So that's I think that's going to be really useful if you're running Black Tide. You mentioned vehicles not getting it, which is fine in my opinion because honestly, I think for vehicles, we have a lot of good choices that have 2+ armor saves in the vehicle department. And there's cover, and some of our vehicles have smoke. So we have other avenues to help we have AOC for a single unit now. Obviously, it's been nerfed, recently, but I think the not having the 5 up invul on vehicles, I think we'll be okay with. I think the infantry is definitely really good, especially our Crusader squads with that.
yeah,
So
this is, I think, I don't know the enhancements or the stratagems yet, but I feel like this is built for the use of Crusader squads, because you have to remember Crusader squads, without the character being leading them, they do have advance rolls to their advances and charges, plus have scout. So
Yep.
you're going to make that unit very, very fast.
Yep, absolutely.
Plus, if you're running chainswords love having additional strength.
An extra pip of strength on a strength 4 weapon is huge. I know strength 5 used to be like the key breakpoint. I don't think it really is anymore. Strength 6 is also a big breakpoint. There's a ton of tough 6 stuff out there and tough 5 stuff out there. But the strength 5 is still a really, really good breakpoint. It makes our Crusaders, if you take, not Crusaders, our Sword Bros, if you take Sword Bros with Helbricht, those power swords are now strength 7. The Thunderhammer is strength 10. So pretty juicy stuff there. So, all right, so let's get into the enhancements. So first up is Pyre Brand. It is just Black Templar model only. Models in the bearer's unit have the stealth ability. All right, 25 points. That is pretty awesome, and I think it's funny that they have the stealth ability, but not in the way that you think. It's because they have this relic that burns so brightly that the opponent is blinded by it, so they have stealth. So it's not that they're stealthy; it's that they're like, oh my god, we're here, and we're blinding you, so you can't see us. That's really good. Stealth is really powerful. -1 to hit is awesome. It will really, help keep that unit alive. How do you like that enhancement, Bob?
Yeah, I think it will give that unit a ton of protection on the board.
Yeah.
But there's always a but. You just got to make sure that you're using a generic character, obviously.
Correct.
On
yeah.
whatever that is. So.
Yep. Well, and in this detachment, of course, we won't have Sig Seal or Tanhazer's Bones or whatnot, so we don't have to worry about like those normal ones that we would put on like a Helbricht squad or a Chaplain with Terminators. We don't have to worry about that. So, yeah. All right. Next up, we've got Sacred Rage. This is 30 points. It's an Adeptus Astartes model only. Once per battle at the start of the fight phase, the bearer can use this enhancement. If it does, until the end of the phase, the models in the bearer's unit have the Fights First ability. Getting Fights First is amazing. This is only once per battle, and it's 30 points. I think it may have some uses, but I think it's maybe a little too expensive for a once per game thing. However, that could mean the difference between winning and losing, and in a squad maybe like Helbricht's, where you don't expect them to live the whole game anyway. Getting that one time off may be worth it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think this is probably a little bit spendy for what you're getting, because your opponent's going to play around it. If you have this, they're going to know that it's going to be a one-time use, and you're really only going to ever have the opportunity to use it one time. Honestly, because if your opponent's charging into you is really the time where you use fights first. It's a
Yeah.
defensive trait, so that's just something to think about on that.
To your point, though, your opponent knows that you're going to have it, which means that if you can you essentially almost always have it, because your opponent, if they are trying to avoid your unit because they know that you have the ability to use this, that gives you an advantage too. So we'll concoct some ways that we can use this in the future. Next up, Taramon's Censor. It's 15 points, Black Templar model only. At the start of the fight phase, each enemy unit within engagement range of the bearer's unit must take a battle shock test. When doing so, subtract 1 from the result. That's okay. It's only 15 points. If you have an extra guy forcing battle shock at the beginning of every fight phase, for every enemy unit, subtracting 1. Could be pretty good. If it's a unit you're probably not going to kill, but you can force them to be battle shocked and not be able to spend strats on them, not be able to capture the objective you might be fighting over. I think this is worth considering. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's for 15 points. It's a solid take on it.
Yeah. It also doesn't exclude monsters or vehicles. It's everything. So that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I think it just it makes one of your units Terminators or Reavers, which is really kind of nice.
Reavers
a little bit better versions.
You could put this on that Phobos LT, and Reavers would have a -2, and I think they would have to take 2 battle shock tests. If I'm not mistaken. We'll have to read the Reavers rule, but they might have to take 2 battle shock tests, because isn't the Reavers one, is it at the start of the fight phase? I don't remember.
I can look it up right quick.
Okay, well, while you look it up right quick, we're going to read the next one. It is Benediction of Fury. It's only 10 points. It is a chaplain model only. The bearer's melee weapons have the Devastating Wounds ability. So chaplains, unfortunately, in tabletop are not known for their smashy capabilities. But this is only 10 points, and if you have an extra 10 points and nothing to put on this chaplain model that you're taking, it could be pretty spicy. So, it's not bad for 10 points. If you got an extra slot and 10 points to spend, why not?
All right, the Reaver's detachment ability is written exactly the same.
So both of them are at the start of the fight phase. So that means they're going to have to take 2. And it's going to be -2. So yeah. I think it'll be -2. I don't know. We'll have to word math that out and figure it. Either way, it's still hilarious to force 2 tests. So since it's from a different source, it just triggers at the same time. And yeah. All right. So any thoughts on Benediction of Fury, Bob, the chaplain dev wounds?
I think for 10 points, that's a decent decent take, especially like if you are doing that chaplain led Terminator squad. It all allows him to hit on similar power levels, not quite as strong, but
yeah, or maybe chaplain with jump hack leading assaultants or something like that. So all right, so let's get into the stratagems. First up we have Fueled by Wrath. This is any phase.
Fueled by Faith.
Fueled by Faith, sorry. I read the title at the same time as I was reading this. Any phase just after a mortal wound is allocated to an Adeptus Astartes unit from your army. The target is that Adeptus Astartes unit. Until the end of the phase, models in your unit have a Feel No Pain 5+ against mortal wounds. So I like this because it's you don't have to you trigger it when you're actually going to get mortal wounds. So if like somebody has an ability that does mortal wounds and they end up rolling like a one mortal wound, you're like, whatever, I'll just take it. But if they're like, oh yeah, it's going to be 6 mortal wounds, you can be like, oh snap, all right, well now I can use this ability. So I like it. It's 1 CP. The timing on it is good. Can go on anything, including vehicles, which is nice. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think this is kind of a useful defensive trait, especially with a lot of the Grotmiss detachments able to put out a ton of more wounds.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is something that you are able to do if your opponent spikes them on you. This will just a quick 1 CP. You're like, okay, at least I have some ability
Some protection.
to shrug it off.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
yeah.
Awesome. Next up, Armor of Contempt. We all know and love this one. Exact same wording as it is from our index. You'll note that GW didn't change the wording. It still says until the end of the phase. The reason for that is if in the future they remove that from the data slate, they don't have to republish this document. Armor Contempt is in every single Space Marine detachment. I don't think we need to talk about it. Next up is Castigate the Demagogues. This is in the fight phase. One Adeptus Astartes unit from your army that has not been selected to fight this phase. Until the end of the phase, melee weapons and models in your unit have the Precision ability. So this is basically the epic challenge strat, except that we don't need a character, which is really nice because sometimes you're just like, I need to kill that dude, and I don't have a character in this, so I'm kind of out of luck. So not bad for 1 CP.
No, it's not. It gives us the ability to basically make Reavers without having Reavers between the enhancement and the stratagem, which I think is kind of hilarious.
Yeah.
But it's quite nice to be able to, if you have a million chainsword attacks and you just need to take out that really stubborn Necron character that is a pain in your ass.
Just Bob's not butthurt by that at all.
Just take it out.
Yeah.
Just take it out.
Yep. And it's great for because we talked about the unled Crusader squads at the beginning benefiting from the movement ability here, because they have scout and everything like that. This helps that unit, just be even better. And I think 10-man squads are going to be pretty good in this detachment because 20-man squads, we're not going to be spamming those. Probably take one, maybe two, but they're so much more expensive, the 20-man. So yeah, I think this is pretty good. Also, if you are in 2 fights and you got one with a character and one with or without a character, and you want to kill those characters in those battles, you can essentially do it twice, which is pretty cool. All right. Up next, we have Brute Fervor. This is also the fight phase. I like all these fight phase stratagems. One Adeptus Astartes unit from your army that has not been selected to fight this phase. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes an attack, reroll a hit roll of 1, and you can ignore any or all modifiers to the attack's weapon skill characteristics, the hit roll, or the wound roll. This is really nice. Reroll hits of 1. I'll take any rerolls they want to give us. And then ignoring mods can be a real pain in the butt sometimes. Having like that -1 to wound or that -1 to hit, and you can just straight up ignore it. Really, really like that strat. What do you think, Bob?
Yeah, it's not common, but when it comes into play, it can really mess up the math for you. I really wish it would say, because there's a lot of things out there that say, hey, increase your toughness or decrease toughness as well. I wish they would have notated that as well. Just to ignore all mods in general in close combat would have been really nice. But even still, this is really good because this really swings that math back into your favor, so your opponent can't use a lot of their defensive mods,
Yep.
stratagems when you're coming in and trying to take out a unit. And oh wait, now you have -1, and
Yep.
not only do you ignore that, you get the reroll to 1, so you can play around with your armor of content. You don't have to put it on that one strategic unit that you know you're going to charge. You have
You
this
mean
on your
your
back pocket.
oath a moment?
Or yeah, your oath a moment.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep.
Yep.
Also, sorry, death card. This just screws your whole army.
Yeah.
Because they all revolve around that -1 to hit or weapon skill or whatever. So
Yep.
they have a lot of that in their army. All right. Next up is Relentless Momentum. This is another fight phase stratagem. The target is one Adeptus Astartes unit from your army that has not been selected to fight, and it is within engagement range of one or more enemy units. Until the end of the phase, when determining which models in your unit are eligible to fight, any models in it that are within 3 inches of one or more enemy models are eligible to fight. When resolving those attacks, such models can target one of those enemy units that is within 3 inches of them and within engagement range of their unit. So this is basically designed to help giant blocks of infantry all swing, which
Yep.
which is great. So 20-man Crusader Squad, 10-man Terminator Squad, even the 10-man Crusader Squad. If things are tight, you can make sure that we can all swing. Pretty good strat. What are your thoughts?
So there's going to be limited applications of this unless you have specific units built into your army,
Yeah.
which I think is a little feels bad, because you basically have to build your army to make use of this.
Yeah.
But if you are making use of that 20-man Crusader Squad or the 10-man Terminator, as you mentioned, those large squads, you really, really want this,
Yeah.
because it takes away a lot of the movement shenanigans that you have to, the careful placement a little bit. You can just bust them forward. Don't worry about this. I'm going to charge. Bam. Everything is in. I don't need to care about it necessarily, because if you're within 3 inches, that's huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah. Yep. 3 inches is a big benefit. So, all right. So lastly, we have Voice of Devotion. This is your command phase. It's the only command phase one that we have. One Adeptus Astartes infantry or one Adeptus Astartes mounted unit from your army. Select the chorus of Relentless Hate, Rite of Wrath, chant of Deathless Devotion litany until the end of the battle round. That litany is active for your unit instead of any other litany that is active for your army. So I was kind of hoping this was going to be in addition, that we could get 2. Sadly, it's instead. But the ability to be like, this unit needs a 5-up invul is really nice, or this unit needs an extra 2 inches of movement is really nice. So yeah, the ability to kind of flip flop on a single unit, definitely very helpful. What do you think?
Yeah, it gives us some additional choice if we need to, because it's going to be at the beginning of the command phase, especially if you're going second, if you need to add on some additional thing. I don't necessarily think it'll be able to be used defensively necessarily for like the chant of Deathless Devotion, because you're not going to be able to predict necessarily what's going to be shot unless something is like on that objective that you know that your opponent needs. But I like that it allows you to switch it. It's unfortunate it doesn't let you stack it, because then that could play into some really...
That would have been really good, but perhaps it also may have been too strong. So yeah. So
darn you playtesters.
I know, right? So that is the detachment, guys. Wrathful Procession. Bob, overall initial impressions.
All right, well, we're going to have to definitely take a second read through, but this one is definitely geared towards Black Tide. For all you Black Tide people out there, this is probably why they jacked up our price so much on those Crusader squads. Can you imagine if we were all taking the 5-man Crusader squads still, and using this detachment. This is I
Yeah.
can this is why they jacked up that price. Guaranteed. They were playtesting and they're like, yeah, this is going to be too strong.
Yeah.
We need to rein it in a little bit. Um, yeah, because adding two to the movement to something that is already scouting, is already re-rolling to hits and
Hmm.
charges. We don't got the advance and charge, but we don't necessarily need it. First turn, Chorus of Relentless Hate, you're going to be in the center of the board anyway
Yep.
if you're using
7-inch move
really
plus a
anything.
scout move. So 13 inches right out of the gate is pretty good.
Plus, your add one to the advance rolls.
Plus, you add one to your advanced rolls, which Crusaders reroll anyway, so that takes
Yeah,
you to about averaging. So with the
4.5.
reroll, well, with the reroll, it's like four and a half already. The math is what it says, so you're adding one to that, so you're really looking at almost between 5 and 6 every turn on average, which is pretty good.
So yeah, that's basically like having advance and
Almost,
charge.
yeah, yeah. So So yeah, and then that one of those big blobs. If you have a big blob of infantry or whatever, you can shove them out there, and they can just have stealth. Okay, so yeah, all right. So yeah, I think this definitely played into why Crusader, the 20-man Crusader squad, got such a huge points hike. They probably may have had this in mind when doing that update, and just knowing that this was in the pipeline, it's possible. Either way, I think if we had 280 point Crusader squads with this, 20-man Crusader squads, this detachment would be busted. So 320, expensive but doable. I think it's interesting that despite it being themed around chaplains, only one thing requires a chaplain, which is good because that means if you don't want to run a chaplain, you don't have to. But I think it would have been interesting to see like if your squad is led by a chaplain, you get like with the reroll hits of ones, like have an extra clause that says if your squad is led by a chaplain, you reroll hits instead, or something like that. That would have been interesting to see, but I'm glad that they didn't like force us to take chaplains in order to activate the detachment. It works whether you take chaplains or not, except for Benediction of Fury. So I really like that, and I appreciate that. We're not locked into using chaplains. We can if we want to. I think they're still worth it on Terminator squads. I think they're good in this detachment on jump pack intercessors. Although jump pack intercessors won't have quite the devastation abilities that they do in Righteous Crusaders because of losing lethal and sustain and that kind of stuff. So either way, though, I think they're still a pretty good unit. Yeah, so that's it, guys. Thanks for joining us today. Don't forget to thank Bob by liking and subscribing this video. We will, of course, have a full deep dive in this where we'll go over it again. We will talk about how we're going to use these enhancements, lists building with this, have some example lists for you guys. So this is just literally our first read through of this, first impressions. Overall, what's your overall score for the detachment initially, Bob?
Yeah, if I were to score it out of 10, 10 being the highest, I'm a little bit more muted. First initial impressions, but we'll dig into those. I think it's a 7.
7? Yeah, yeah. I would agree with that. How do you think it compares to Righteous Crusaders? Good
I
alternative?
think it's a good alternative. I think it forces you to build a certain way, but a lot of the Grotmus lists have kind of been that way. It gives us an alternative
Well,
option, a
and
building option.
it focuses into something that people like, which is Black Tide. A lot of people
Yep.
have liked the Black Tide style, so I think that's fine. I mean, we were running a lot of infantry anyway, so
Yep. Yeah,
we
Righteous
were
Crusader is a little bit more balanced, and this one's going to be definitely geared towards that black tide.
Yeah. All right. Well, sounds good. I hope everyone has a safe and happy holidays. Merry Christmas, Merry Grotmas, all the things. And we will be putting out a full deep dive on this, so look out for that video hopefully soon. And until next time, keep on crusading.